exactly said that I'm sorry for interrupting you. You said that exactly, so I understand that those three.
The purpose of this week was to bring together the Dutch NGOs and some of their southern partners to reflect on the learning process they've all been engaged in around organisational assessment.
We were here to share our first experiences.
Do's and the don'ts. Exchange on good practice.
Learn by doing.
Why is it most of the time donor-driven? Time is needed.
We need to involve everybody.
Learn from the other participants on the use of the 5 C's.
The 5C framework is a new way of looking at capacity,
which looks into 5 core capabilities that an organization should have to say it actually has capacity to carry out its mission.
In the past, organisational assessment tools have been tick box exercises. It's a simple framework, but it enables the exploration of many, many different aspects of the organisation and how it functions.
Focus on the capacity of the organisation, where we focus on what are the dreams of the organisation, where we focus on what are the strengths of the organisation.
We looked at the gaps, we looked at our strengths, we looked at our weaknesses.
It's not actually a tool, it's an approach. And within that approach, you can develop tools.
Within a very short time, we have achieved quite even beyond what we expected to achieve.
It is really important to do an organizational assessment for different purposes.
It gives the organisation an opportunity to stop and reflect on where it is and to use that as the basis for forward planning.
You explore under your own leadership the internal factors and external context which enables you to perform as effectively as you should be.
And it gives you a better credibility as an organization if you go through this process.
To be more accountable to our development partners and probably to position ourselves to be more marketable and more appealing to in the competitive development partnership community.
If you want to even get more funds for your organization, then your organization should be very strong in all the areas, in terms of program, in terms of strategic planning, in terms of finance management, in terms of relationships.
It generates transparency, openness.
When your organization is very strong, then you're able even to get more partners, because every partner is looking for an efficient organization.
No, not every organisation wants to do an organisational assessment, but that in itself is a very, very good indicator of many things. You know, if they're open to the process, that tells you a lot about them, a lot of good things about them. If they're resistant, that means there's some stuff there that maybe you need to look at.
The engagement of leadership, it starts there.
For donors, this process is difficult to serve.
We have to deliver to our constituency.
Learning from each other.
There are different key elements for a successful assessment.
You need the commitment of leadership.
The leadership needs to be open and willing to accept the opinions of the staff members at all levels.
A leader who is open to criticism.
To show the way with being open to learning, open to change.
The most important feedback that I got is for us to really succeed in implementing this in our organizations, we also need you as leadership to connect with our leadership, to reinforce the leadership taking ownership of this process.
If you are not willing to have OA and OD as an important part of your work, it's better to close your organization.
And I think that's also something that I'm very much willing to commit to.
But certainly we will continue with this.
You need enough trust within your organization.
The trust that you have for your own co-workers, the trust that you have for the process.
Some of the staff members can see it threatful for them.
Time that you spend while planning for it is very important.
Openness and transparency in the process.
If you're motivated by a true desire to be a significant organization that adds value to development processes, then you will be open.
It is very much a participative process, and that everybody's involved, and it's not just management making a nice picture of the organization and just saying everything is well, because more often than not that is not true.
The need to really contextualize this model. You cannot just take it as it is out of the study paper and import it into an organisation and say, here you are, work with this.
The realities of the southern organizations are different from the realities of the northern organizations.
You have to give clear explanations of the ideas and then let people work out meanings for themselves in their own context.
All of us need to understand each other's realities, but you also need to understand each other's constraints, fears, and motivation. Equal partnership, trust, I'll repeat, and also shared values. Transparency. Those are the principles that should govern, should underpin the relationship between a northern and southern NGO in the whole process of organizational assessment.
In our work, in our development.
In all process, there has to be someone that takes the initiative.
The key issue is not to make it an imposition on the southern organization, but to make it very clear to them so that they are really meaningfully part of the process and owns the process.
We don't do it because the Ministry of Foreign Affairs wants the northern organization to do it, or not because the northern organizations want the southern organization to do it for the sake of getting the funding, but to realize that it's a self-energizing, motivating approach and methodology for self-renewal.
When you're asked about it, when you're allowed the space to provide feedback, when you're allowed to work with it and you're given a certain freedom, then it becomes something useful.
Let's do something that we both benefit from.
They're saying it doesn't matter where it came from, we actually find it very useful and very beneficial. So we don't care that originally it was imposed. Now we just like working with it.
The funny thing is, when we started, we thought that we were all right. During the process, we not only realized that we're not doing well, but we also realized we can do much, much more.
Through a small investment on organizational assessment and organizational development, we're accessing funds of other corporate agencies, which is also benefiting the persons with disabilities or beneficiaries in the field.
So we have now about 66 of these big business people, business mentoring to these micro entrepreneurs.
I believe that any open organization, any organization that is willing to learn and to grow, should adapt the 5 C's.
We very much see it as our core business to help partners to fulfill that role. And if we take up a partnership, it's not just for the process of 3 years doing a project. We have partners who've been working together with us for maybe 35 years.
It's easier to sell an eye operation. But if you explain with a big donor the importance of these activities, then they understand it.
We are only here to strengthen our partners in the South, but it would be 5 times better if they can do it themselves, if they don't need us.
Because the environment has changed.
It was a very effective learning week.
It went smoothly from the very beginning.
A really level playing field.
We got an opportunity to interact with the southern organization of different Dutch organizations, which does not always happen.
Look at organizational assessment as a framework, not as a tool. Do not use it as a criteria for selection. Use it as a criteria to build trust, but also based on trust. Use it as a framework to help you to grow.